All right, Jack, we are officially live. However you want to start it off.
Dude, I'm stoked. I to be honest, I'm stoked to be here. I'm stoked to be talking about the 2022 Onewheel Racing League season.
I can't believe it.
I almost dropped an expletive right there. I'm really excited. I had a cup of coffee and I am excited about.
Quite a great pour you did this morning, Jack.
Thanks, Laser. Yeah. Thank you. So 2022 ORL racing season, there's a lot to get into. Where you want
Let's
to start?
just dive right into it.
Okay. Well, folks, maybe we'll start with Race the Rail and work backwards.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So Race the Rail, which of course is the pinnacle. It's the Super Bowl of the one wheel world.
World championships, whatever.
It's just a beautiful moment, to be honest. There's been so many beautiful moments at Race the Rail over the years. I just smile thinking about it. Last year, of course, we had Zoe, who won in her home state.
Yeah, she lives like an hour away from where we held Race for the Rail, which was pretty epic.
Totally.
And then wild card Tyler James. Came out of nowhere, had been riding for like 8 months. And
and was locked in a head-to-head battle with his sort of one-wheeling mentor.
Yeah, Kyle Hansen,
who put on a show as well. So that was just like super cool. The year before was cool with Floaty winning and it's
another wild card.
Yeah. It's just every year it's got so many twists and turns and
constantly evolving.
Last year was the first year that we introduced qualifying events, which was a huge leap forward, right? Of course, it's getting kind of serious.
Yeah.
In the best way possible, I think. Like, not too serious where it's not fun still. Still definitely fun. But at this point, this is a sport. These riders are incredibly talented.
Yeah, people are training year round at this point to, go to all these community races as well as have a shot at Race for the Rail, being Race for the Rail champion. It's pretty amazing to see. I love it. It's honestly like it's turning into something I look forward to, especially with the introduction of Onewheel Racing League last year, which was
totally,
it was a new thing for us, but I only see it like people are getting on board and it's only going to grow and
totally
get bigger and bigger.
And I think the thing is that was great about the introducing regional qualifiers, which we had last year, 3 of them, was just that it was the first year where we really had a way to have like a merit-based system to get into Race the Rail.
Yep.
Before then, it was like sort of invite. There was like a voting component. Before that, there was like time trials where everyone showed up. And it's like there's just too many riders now to just have everyone show up on Friday and then, okay, races on Saturday. So
it was a lot, but also it was like we had to adjust to the lifestyle we were given via 2020, and that whole thing, which is what introduced the voting and a very unique social aspect to that. But then as we move on, kind of go into more, I don't want to say traditional, but thing like structure, a competitive structure that people will be more used to, whether they are, traditional sports fans or racing fans of any type.
Totally. Yeah. And I think, so I see the structure this year that we'll get into in a second as being, I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be the most equitable, sort of merit-based that we've had so far, which is obviously the goal. And I also think it's going to be something that people are that's entertaining. I mean, I'm not racing. To me, this is like, it's amazing entertainment.
You love it.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I love having the opportunity to be at the bottom and talk to, the winners of each race. And that's like, it's just a beautiful moment for everybody.
It is.
But
we're tearing up here.
So you're highly involved in the planning process.
Sure.
I kind of am, but I'm here to learn just as everybody else is ready for all this information we're about to put out. So tell me, Jack, Race for the Rail 2022 invitees. How are people, let's just start like, how many people are going to be able to get into this race?
Yeah. So I'm excited to announce that we're adding 4 spots, both on the men's and on the women's side this year. So that's huge. There's so many good racers out there now. And it's always a bit heartbreaking. I mean, there's always going to be someone who, like the person who gets left out. There's always going to be the next best person that doesn't get to go. But increasing the fields to 16 riders on the men's side, 12 on the women's side.
Nice.
That's a big jump. So, excited to provide an opportunity for more folks to go have a shot at this. And I think if there's anything we've learned over the past couple of years, is that it's truly anyone's ball game.
Anybody's ball game.
Which is why it's so exciting. Parity.
Anybody's wheel game.
Anybody's wheel game.
Yes.
Parity in sports is the best, right? No one wants to watch a sporting event where number 1 seed wins every single game. There's no excitement. So 16 riders will get invites on the men's side. 12 will get invites on the women's side. And should we talk about how we decide on that? Obviously, that's everything. Who gets those invites?
So what's the main opportunity? Assume it's the official ORL regional races, which are.
That's right. So 2 regionals. There's a Western regional and an Eastern regional. Let's see. I can check up on some exact dates and locations.
And that's slightly different from last year, which is where we held a Western, Central, and Eastern. This year, just going to Eastern and Western, which is still, unfortunately, if you live in the center of the country, you're going to have to You're going to have to go to a coast, but I think, nobody will pass out.
Yeah, no, totally. So Western Regional is going to happen in San Jose, California, right in our backyard.
Whoa.
Yeah, which is going to be exciting. July 9th and 10th.
I hope we have a big party.
We're definitely going to have a big party. And the Eastern Regional, sorry, I'm zooming around my little spreadsheet here. The Eastern Regional is going to be in Henderson, North Carolina. I just imagine the barbecue there is fantastic. I know nothing about Henderson.
It has to be.
I assume there's trails and I assume there's barbecue.
Trails and barbecue.
July 30th and 31st. So that's your Western and your Eastern Regional. Write those dates down if you want to be a Race to the Rail candidate. What else do I know about these? These events, basically similar structure to the regionals last year. There'll be a 2-day event. The first day is a time trial where we'll just get through, as many racers as possible. I think for the San Jose event, it's limited to 200 spots.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the Henderson, North Carolina event. It may have a similar space limitation. It might not. You can register for those events. If you're serious about it, you should go and do this now. You can register for those events on the ORL website, which we'll link below here. So make sure you do that if you're interested in getting involved in this chaos. I believe registration fees are going to be something like $80, and
that's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable. And I think half your registration fee goes directly into prize purses. So actually, we're going to have
prize purse for qualifiers.
Prize purses for qualifiers.
Wow,
this year.
that's new.
That's new. Yeah, that's new.
That's pretty exciting.
And so the first day is time trials. Second day, you take the best performers on the men's and women's side, and we live stream those races. I think everyone that gets into day 2 will actually finish in the money. We'll have a chunk of the prize purse.
So if you make it into day 2 of your qualifier, you're going to get some cash regardless.
You're going to walk away with some cash.
That's pretty cool.
Great. Totally. Yeah. And the idea is that, let me just continue. The top 4 riders out of the West and out of the Eastern qualifiers on the men's and women's side will go to Race the Rail. Okay.
Ooh.
Top 4. Maybe I can diagram this in post.
Yeah, we'll put an overlay.
Yeah, but and those riders will get a decent little chunk of money, and hopefully that'll help them, with travel and stuff to get to Race the Rail.
That's great.
So, okay, so let's take stock of where we're at right now. So we have the 16 spots on the men's side,
12 spots on the women's side,
12 spots on the women's side.
A Western qualifier in San Jose, California, an Eastern qualifier in Henderson, North Carolina, and the top 4 men and women from each one of those qualifying races will go to Race for the Rail. Also, they will be winning some prize purse from a qualifying race, which has never happened before. Obviously, we've only done 1 year of qualifying races, but it's pretty epic that money is being offered to these racers for their valiant efforts.
Totally.
So
that's 8. That's 8.
That's
right
8. Yeah, we haven't filled out the full 16 and 12. How else are we going to fill that out?
Well, okay, so yeah, we're at 8. So last year's Race to Rail winners and runners up are also invited.
Okay.
So we're at 10.
Boom.
We're at 10. Yeah, we're at 10. So there's basically 6 at-large spots open on the men's side, and there's 2 at-large spots open on the women's side at this juncture.
Where is this heading? Tell us where this is heading, Jack.
Well, I'm really thrilled to let you know that this year we are actually going to introduce the first ever national rider ranking.
Like ranking riders for their performance.
Like ranking riders for their performance. Exactly.
That's pretty rad.
It's super rad.
Wow. I'm super into downhill mountain biking. Yeah. And obviously there's a whole ranking system there.
Yep.
However it's figured out. That's fun for the audience. That's really exciting.
I got the first rider ranking sent to me by the committee.
Oh, the committee.
By the committee.
There's a committee.
There is a committee.
Okay.
And man, is that fun to look at. Yeah, it's very interesting. So there's a lot to touch on here.
Yeah.
What's your first question when you hear this?
How does the ranking system work?
How does the ranking system work?
Is it points? Is it
sure.
Time? How does it go?
And what's counted too, probably.
Yeah.
So the ranking system, I have to give credit where credit's due. Mm-hmm. So we work with John and Chelsea Grace.
Oh yeah,
who are
amazing people.
And they helped with all of the regional events last year. And John was part of like the emergence of kayaking, basically, and was sort of like a pioneer of that sport. And so he's been very involved in like organizing the structure of basically competitive and professional kayaking. And so John and Chelsea were like, hey, you guys, this is at the point where you guys need, like, I'm not going to say world rankings because obviously we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, world riders could still come out, but obviously,
sure.
These events are only held in the U.S.
Sure.
At the moment.
But he's like, after observing the circuit last year, we need national rankings. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's totally, yeah, we do.
That makes sense. You see it in all sports pretty
basically
much.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So John and Chelsea have devised essentially a ranking system based on last year's racing results. So based on last year's 3 qualifying events, okay. Western, Central, and Eastern, and then Race to the Rail. And now I can't get into the exact algorithm that they've used. I think it's something that they've used in the past. It's it's a little bit above my head.
Computer science.
There's computer science. But generally speaking, it's weighted. It's based on riders' results. You don't have to go to all the races, right?
Okay.
It's, some people only go to one, but they place really high. Some people go to all of them, but they're kind of in the middle. Like, it's not going to be an exact science, but I've seen the rankings and I think it's pretty appropriate. So that's going to be our baseline coming into the season. Okay. It's a little bit, I'm a big college football fan.
I'm not.
Right. So college football, the first rankings come out and you're like, interesting. Like, no way, Alabama's worse than Georgia, So part of this is that it's going to be a fun debate all season long, which I'm really looking forward to. But so we're going to come into the season here, and we will release the first rider rankings shortly. So stay tuned for that because that's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
But we're going to come into the season with a ranking based on last season's results in the 3 qualifiers and Race the Rail.
Okay.
Now, this year, the rankings are not just going to be based on our 2 qualifying events. Okay.
Okay. So
this year,
keep going.
The rankings are going to be based on a host of the most popular and most well-run, because that's the key, community events.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a high bar basically to become one of these sanctioned events. You need to have a professional timing system. Like this is not
you can't just
backyard race. Yeah. So this is we need time, like professional times on everything. This is done legitimately. So Seek and Shred out north.
Oh, awesome. That's so cool.
Yep, totally. Manuel and Neil.
Yeah.
Holding Seek and Shred up in Northern California. Dirt Surferz with Nick
That's epic.
out in Arkansas. And then Wheel Scorcher, which is the event that Justin put on last year in North Carolina as well. So those 3 are going to be sanctioned events. So basically the results from those events are going to go towards your rider ranking. Okay.
That's fun. That's really fun.
It's super fun.
I think it's awesome to integrate those events into the entire ORL ecosystem. I mean, obviously we were part of them last year in some capacity, and they helped with our regional events. But to let their standalone events count as a sanctioned race is pretty cool.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think last year is it was sort of in this funny gray area, particularly with like you said, some of the Dirt Surfers, for example. Mm-hmm. Nick had Dirt Surfers, which was an epic event, and crowd a winner of Dirt Surfers. But then we did worked with him, and then did the qualifier after, and it was okay, who based on his Dirt Surfers, you had to get into the qualifier from his event. Yeah. It was kind of supposed to be the same thing, but it kind of was 2 things. I'd say wasn't super clear, So I think the nice thing about this structure is that it's okay, these events that are already happening and are super legitimate, where all the best riders or a lot of the best riders are going to, they count towards your ranking. You place well, that's going to help you in your rider rank. It's their thing. We don't need to sort of augment it or change it in any way, So I'm super excited about it. It also gives riders a lot more opportunity, right? So we were talking about, okay, there's only 2 qualifiers this year.
I think that's the best thing hearing that is that there's ultimately more opportunity to get to Race for the Rail or to have an opportunity to go to a qualifier. I assume that's great because there with only 2 qualifiers and each being at the on the coast, it will be difficult for some people to make those. So if they could get to one of these sanctioned qualifiers and move on forward from there, that's ultimately just
totally,
that's great for everybody.
Totally. So Yeah. So you know, I would still say that if you really think you have a shot to win Race the Rail, I would still definitely recommend getting to a qualifier, because again, qualifiers have automatic bids, 4 on each side. So that's your best bet to get into Race the Rail. But, you know, if you're already going to Dirt Surferz and Seek and Shred or what have you, that and you perform really well, you know, that's going to help your rider rank. And basically, if we come back to the numbers, we filled out 10 spots already on both sides.
Yeah.
The final 2 spots on the women's side, the final 6 spots on the men's side are going to be given to the next highest ranked riders.
Wow.
I think it's a wonderful system. So it's, again, your rider ranking is based on this host of events, both the sanctioned events that we talked about and your ORL qualifiers.
Yeah.
All of that performance goes into your rider ranking. And then at the end of the day, anyone who didn't get an automatic bid, we just go straight to the rankings. Boom, 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 boom. U6, you're in. So I think it's like,
I mean,
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I could tell a lot of thought and discussion went into figuring all this out, because
Totally.
I mean, obviously, each year it's getting it's different, but it's evolving, and that's the point, right? I mean, you go back to the first race for the rail, and
oh my gosh,
I don't even think you can't even compare the first race for the rail to like last year's or 2020.
It's real.
So it's really cool to be seeing all of this get like more legit.
Totally.
As the years go on. And super shout out to John and Chelsea Grace for
big time. They're
being not only super helpful, but being really interested in seeing the progression of the sport.
Totally. 100%. Totally. And a couple more things that I'd mention in regards to the sanctioned events and their relationship to overall rankings and whatnot. If you win a sanctioned event, so if you win Seek and Shred, you win Dirt Surferz, you win Wheel Scorcher, you automatically qualify for the final day of your local regional. So let me break this down for you. Again, in the Western Eastern regionals, we're going to have 200 people come out to lay down a time on day 1. Only maybe 10, right, or whatever the number is, I'm not sure exactly yet, make it to day 2. So it's incredibly competitive. If you win one of the sanctioned events, I believe we're actually going to be paying for your travel to the regional, and you automatically qualify for day 2. You still have to lay down a time on day 1, because that's going to result in your seating on day 2.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's saying, I think it's super equitable. It's like, okay, you went out to one of these events where a lot of the best riders are. You beat them all, right? Like, I think that to me merits like, okay, you're in the final show, which again, you're going to win some prize purse there too. So I think that's cool. And again, if you finish in the top 10 at a regional, that's going to help your ranking as well. Right. So maybe you win Dirt Surferz, you get to the, Eastern regional, you place in the top, you finish in the top 10, maybe you get 7th, but again, like that's going to help your ranking. So I think that's cool. The other thing that I mentioned is that in the rankings themselves, okay, so there is an analytical component to it, but at the end of the day, it's impossible to I remember, for anyone that follows college football, the BCS era, right? There was like an algorithm that decided everything, just spit out, okay, this is the number 1 team, number 2 team, number 3 team. Like everyone lost their mind every year, because it's like it's a computer can't tell you who's actually better than who at the end of the day, right? So in addition to having an analytical component, we also have this committee.
The committee
that I mentioned earlier. So the committee is comprised of
the committee's not a top secret,
I probably maybe there's reason to not name the committee members because they might get bribed, paid, hounded.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like some sort of under the table. Hey, I want my ranking to go up.
Wow.
Now I don't think anybody would ever do that, but
it's true. We have the utmost trust in the committee members. Basically, the committee members are the organizers of the sanctioned events. So Manuel Soto,
nice
for Seek and Shred.
Cool.
Nick Payne, the great Nick Payne, for Dirt Surfers. Justin Thompson for Wheel Scorcher. So that's 3 committee members are there. John and Chelsea Grace.
Awesome.
Who, I don't know what their official title is. Kayaking Legends, Race Operations Gurus, National Geographic's Explorer of the Year from like 2006 or something.
Legends. Just call them legends.
Yeah, John and Chelsea Grace have earned a spot. They've created the table, so they earned a spot there.
Yeah. You create the table, you get a spot at the table.
So that's the 4th community member. And then the 5th community member will be some representative of the Onewheel marketing team, which of course is a non-biased party.
Okay.
Probably maybe me, maybe you. I don't know. Maybe you and I can make our rankings together. But so there'll be 5 members of the committee. We're still sort of sifting through exactly how the mechanics work, but essentially this committee there will be a human component to assessing the analytical rankings that come through, because at the end of the day, no one trusts an algorithm to tell you who's the best. So I think there needs to be both. So
that's good. That's a good balance.
Totally. And exciting to have those folks as a part of, this is not like a locked closed door where it's like, oh, Future Motion just told me who the number 1 rider is. Like that's,
no,
totally
I think it's
not
great.
True.
You have some epic people on this committee. Yeah. Obviously it's like the people running the races.
Yeah.
It is the folks who are playing a huge part in the organization of ORL Race for the Rail races. And
the people have seen riders at their local events too.
Yeah. And then somebody from Onewheel.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, all the results from all those events are like, timed professionally and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm stoked. I mean, like, zooming back out, like like I said in the beginning, like I think this year is the most equitable and exciting, and I think it's going to be a huge leap forward for Onewheel racing. I'm really excited.
Well, I mean, in general, within the last year, the progression of riding in the Onewheel world has like just bounced through the roof.
Totally.
It's like there was a moment where I was like very confident in my own abilities to like race and be like, I think I could keep up. And now I'm seeing like go riding with like Neil or Austin Silva, and they're like, I'm just like, okay, you guys are so good.
Two of the best.
Yeah,
those are two of the best.
And everybody, even on the women's side, like, Austin's wife, Mercedes, she's like such a good rider. And like these people
I think a dark horse.
Yeah, these people are hitting like jumps now and all this stuff. So like, I think this is, you say it, everybody says it, but like this is going to be the most exciting year in Onewheel Racing League and Race for the Rail. So it's, and the ranking system only makes it more exciting from a audience perspective.
Totally.
It's great.
I think it's huge for both for the riders themselves. I mean, how cool would that be to be like, yo, I'm the number 3 racer in the world. Like that's really cool to be able to say pretty, in a pretty official and legitimate manner. But also, like you mentioned, from an audience perspective, because if you're, John Doe from Omaha and you happen to tune in to Race to the Rail, you kind of have no understanding of who is the favorite. I mean, we try to tell you in the broadcast, but and if you follow this stuff really closely, maybe but you're talking about your brother tuning in.
Oh yeah, and he's like, who do I choose? And then I tell him like, oh, here are some of like people that I think are really great, and then he gets all into it, and he's like, yo, is Bodie racing this year? And I'm like, yeah.
Right. But yeah, it'd be amazing to know, right? Like Raquel McCosker was the #1 ranked rider on the women's side, and she unfortunately sustained that injury right before the race. All of a sudden, like the #1 seed is out. Like this is anyone's ball game, you know. I don't know. I don't think Zoe would have been the #1 seed. I think Rachel Cecil probably would have been, in my opinion. Who knows? But you know, you have some reference. Tyler James, he would have been probably the 10th, 11th, or 12th seed because he was a wild card, right? So, you know, I think it's cool in that regard too.
Well, that is a lot of awesome information, Jack.
That is a lot. I'm juiced.
Jack's fired up, folks.
I am really excited.
Just for another go round, can you tell us how to register for these ORL regional races?
Yes. So in the description below, go to the ORL website and register to race Western and Eastern regionals, San Jose, California, Henderson, North Carolina. Those dates, all that information's in there. And obviously there's a lot of other information that we're gonna have to get to too as we get through into the season proper.
Yeah.
You know, haven't talked anything about what date Race the Rail is, where it is, and that stuff. There's a lot more to cover here, but I think today we just wanted to get the foundation.
You lay a great foundation and you build upon that.
Yep.
And that's where we are now.
Yep.
More information to come, more excitement to come. For me as a content person, I'm excited for the rankings to be able to like talk to people after races and, you know, just get some of that flow going on who's who and who's doing what. Do
some more terrain reviews.
Yeah. Watch out for terrain reviews coming in the middle of broadcast.
Let us know who you think, who your top 3 on the men's and women's side is right now.
Oh yeah. Drop it in the comments.
Yeah.
Who you think's going to be the leaders throughout the season, as well as like, you know, remember 2 years ago, people were throwing out Austin and Neil and they were kind of like under the radar.
Sure.
And then they came out, you know, and like, I think there's with the spread of Stoke of Onewheel, you know, there's probably people out there that we don't know about that are going to come up and be like,
every year,
here I go.
Every year there are.
Don't count me out.
Do we miss anything? Anything else that's important to note? I feel like we hit all the major things, but we also are gonna work on some dope ORL merch.
Oh yeah!
Last year we got the hat done late,
super late. If you have, what ORL merchandise would you love? I was saying, this is crazy, a basketball jersey with the ORL logo on it. I don't know. I know it's not relative, but it's whatever. It could be anything, a hat, a towel.
It's not relevant, but everything's relative.
Yeah. So, you know, if you have ideas.
NASCAR jacket.
Yeah, NASCAR jacket.
Straw hat.
Earmuffs.
Actually, straw hat would be pretty dope.
Cowboy hat.
For sun protection.
Yeah. Let us know.
Anyways, yeah, we'll hopefully get some drip out, and we're stoked. So
I'm excited. Racing season is upon us.
Oh my gosh.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Seatbelt on.